Hello friends, welcome to Salesforce CMAtics video session 249. So basically in today's video, we will just understand a bit more about Cogroup. So we will do a practical application related to Cogroup. What I'll be doing is we did some scenario related to union. Okay. So I think we did some 2 to 3 use cases. We built some links related to union. I will take that example and I will try to replicate the same thing using Cogroup function. Okay. So you will also get a better understanding then what exactly is co-group, and you will be also able to identify the difference. We already know the difference, but how exactly in SAQL, like we use the union and co-group, and what are the things we need to keep in mind when we are using the co-group particularly instead of union. Fine. So what we'll be doing is, let me first of all open all the lens which we have created by using union. So this was the first, okay. And I will be duplicating this. I'll be creating one more. So I'll be creating one more as it. I have to anyhow create one more lens. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me add this. Okay. Now this was a very simple union SAQL which we did, right? What we did, we basically loaded the data set and we basically found it out what was the complete ID and account name. Okay. From both dogs, that is my recipe account as well as my external account. Okay. Now the same thing how we can do by union. Okay. We are going to check that. So what I'll be doing is I'll be just copying this part. Now I have loaded both the data sets, right? And I will take a third one and I will just do a co-group. So let's say, right, U equal to co-group U1. Now we need the ID and name, right? So I'll be doing it by ID and name. Okay. I'll be doing a full because I need all the ID and name. And the same thing I'll be doing over here. U2 by the same thing. Now what I'll be doing is I'll be generating the result. So let's say I just write it as. Now for now, just let me write it as u.id. Let me run this. Now, as you can see, they are not able to identify this Q1. I already knew it, but I just wanted to explain you this part properly. Here we have to mention Q1. Okay. Now, when I mention this Q1, it will just show me all the IDs which are coming from my internal account, but not from external. So just to ensure I get from external also, I have to use this word called coalesce. Okay. So through coalesce, what I will be doing is, now the co-group is helping me because, I have mentioned this word full. See, anyhow, when I'm bringing the ID from both docs, it's never like it to use the co-group doesn't make sense, honestly. The reason being the IDs will never match, right? So that's the first thing because two different docs will always have different ID. And ID is what makes a record unique. Okay. So the name can be the same, but ID will always be unique. Now, since I'm actually co-grouping this by ID and name both, the ID is always unique. So that's why in such scenario, co-group doesn't make sense anyhow. You need to go for union when you need to combine records one after the other. But I'm just showing you like how through union also that can be possible. That's why I mentioned this full because I need all the IDs and there's no possibility of ID matching from both the records. And that's why I will be mentioning both the IDs, that is q1.id and q2.id as well. Okay. So in case this q1.id is none, I have to mention the q2.id. Good. Now the why I'm mentioning this one, we will understand this. So for now, let's say I just write q1 dot. Now, if you see over here, like nothing came up, right? So I have just done the co-group, but nothing had come up for the ID and account name. Okay. So what I'll be doing is, as I mentioned there, I'll be writing this coalesce over here. Now let me, first of all, let's just check the ID as of now, whether it's coming properly or not. Okay, so now as you can see, I can see all the complete ID, right? All the complete ID are being reflected over here. Then comes the next part. So now let's say if I just remove this q2.id as well, right? Let's see if something comes up or not. You see IDs are still coming up, but the only issue is that there are many blank IDs if you see. Okay. So even in the earlier case also, like some values came up. Yeah, let me just run this once again, this q1.id and q1.name. What is happening is you are getting the ID and name. Okay, if you come to the last, you will see some ID and name, but the problem is many records are showing me blank, as you can see, right? Like all these are blank after over here. Okay, from here, like many are blank, and when you come down, you're going to see those IDs. The reason being, I'm just displaying the ID from Q1, that is from this particular table, but not from here. Okay, the union part is done, it's going to display, but it will display me as blank because the generate I'm just mentioning as q1.id. So that's why union thing is that it will display you all the records, but because I mentioned q1.id, for q2 it will just mention it as blank. So for that reason, I have to go for this function coalesce, which I went earlier as well. Okay, so that's why I'm going to write code. And here also the same thing, I will going to mention. Now, as you can see, I am able to see the complete count. Now, whether this count matches or not, we can also check that. For example, when we did the simple union, we saw there were 1, 2, 3, 2 records. Somehow, when we are doing the co-group, I'm not able to see that number, but we can quickly cross-check whether the number is coming as 1, 2, 3, 2 or not. Because one thing is you can download this, but a better way is, since we are SAQL developers or Salesforce CMITX developer, we should utilize this one. We will check it in the SAQL only. So I'm just going to write group Q by ID, okay, and I will be writing q equal to for each you generate count of q as count. Okay. For group by ID, what is the issue? For each you generate group rank 7. Just a moment, let me check. Q equal to group q. Okay, I haven't mentioned this word q. So group q by ID, and as you can see, the complete count is 1, 2, 3, 2. Okay. So yeah, that way also you can actually check like the number of records, whether it's coming as 1, 2, 3, 2, or not, which is coming. Okay. So this complete code which you have written is completely fine. Definitely I can save it as simple, like something like simple union. But ideally you shouldn't do it in this way. Okay. Now let's understand one more scenario where we actually found the total count, right? So for example, if you see here, with the help of union, what we found out was the total count. So here we actually added both of them, which is coming 1, 2, 3, 2, the same like earlier. But in this case, we are displaying the ID Not sure why this didn't run. In this case, we are displaying the ID and name, but right now, let's say I just want to directly see the total, then how can we do that? Through union. Okay, so I will just again come over here. I will just map that external one as well and directly go to SAQL. Okay, now here I will just remove, which is not required for me. So I've loaded both the data set. Okay, and what I can write is Q equal to O group. Now, first let's understand what we did in union. In union, if you see, we generated the count and we just gave the summation. Now, what are we going to do over here is Q equal to cogroup Q1 by all full. Okay, and Q2 by all full as well. Okay, and then what we are going to do is for each Q generate count of Q1 because we already did a cogroup. So we already got all the details plus count of Q2 as well count. Fine. So we are loading the data set. We are loading the second one. We are co-grouping this by all. And finally, we are just generating this total count. So if you see here, join type not allowed in final grouping. Join type not allowed in final grouping. Okay, let me just understand. Okay, sorry. Here it shouldn't be full. So as you can see, I'm getting the same total 1, 2, 3, 2. Fine. So the total account, you can just use the co-group as well to find the total. So we have just co-group like one by one, we are getting all the records because we have done the full part and just we are counting the Q1 and Q2, the number of records. Fine. So maybe I can just mention it as total account count from 2aux using co-group. Okay. Now, if you want to also find, let's say the industries, right? So that part also can be done via union. Okay. So for example, you have all these things, right? Where you're generating each of the industry. Now here also, like you can found the internal count and external count. Maybe we can just check this part in the next session, but you can also try this out once on your own. Like you are just going to co-group by industry. Okay. And finally, you are going to just generate this one, right? So instead of sum of count, you are just going to have the count of Q1. Okay, if you get the count of Q1, you will get it as internal count. So we can check this, but yeah, I hope up till here you understood like how we did the simple co-group and how we found out the total count also using this co-group, which I saved it over here. So yeah, that's it about this video and let's meet very soon in our next video.